He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
All right, we are back. Angry Mortgage is on the air. We're back. Yeah. Well, we got a lot to talk about this week. Holy mackerel. There's always, you know what? Sometimes I think about the wild stuff in housing and mortgages and real estate is that there was a time when it used to be pretty quiet, right? Like there was always some minor thing going on, but it wasn't, you know, if you go back to the 2000s, right? 2000s, yeah, it was, you know, there was some issues, there were some things, but, and of course, 2008 was big for the world financial crisis, which in Canada only lasted about 11 months, then it was over. So yeah, there were a few things, but it used to be, if you go back to 2000s, like that was the only big thing. Like the world financial crisis, 2008, it's all over by 2010, and then we continue on, okay? Since COVID, there's basically some new shit happening every quarter. Like
every single day. There's definitely some news report.
Oh,
terrible one because all the news reports is terrible.
They're all terrible. They're all
about what's fucked up in the housing industry
and real estate and mortgages and the world and the world.
I mean, the world's going to shit, but that's a talk for another day.
But we are not in charge of the world. Only our little mortgage housing world here. That's all we do. Because if we had to handle the world, I'd give up. I'm not meant for that. All right. So what I want to talk about, start off is when we look back, all of these new housing announcements from the government are in. We've had the new budgets for both the Ontario and from the federal government. We've had just tons and tons of stuff. So let's sort of break it down and capsulize it again. So we have a bunch of programs out of the federal government, tons of them, okay? So it just involves the spending of a lot of money. Now, some of it is actual spending and some of it is just the approval of loans. Like, I think we've all got to be really clear. The approval of loans thing, subsidized, and they're not even subsidized. They're just the lowest possible rate that can be fairly managed with CMHC sponsorship for rental towers, for rental properties, okay? And before everybody flies off the handle at that and says, CMHC is the worst thing in the world, okay? We get a lot of that in social media. Sorry, but we do. The answer is no, it's not. Almost all Western countries have some form of housing assistance organizations, agencies. In the US, they had two, and after 2008, they both collapsed and had to be rebuilt for the tune of billions and billions of dollars of taxpayers' money. We've never had that. It's unlikely we ever will have it. And these loans to build apartment units, purpose-built rentals that'll be rented out for 50, 60, 70, 100 years, who knows? We all know there's apartments have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So these things, first of all, we never built any for 25 years. Like we stopped building them back in the 90s, and so condos filled the gap, but not anymore. And so these are loans that will be paid. People need to rent. People need to pay the rent, and the loans get repaid. So it's nothing to panic about. The builders build, and then the REITs take them over, the pension funds take the buildings over, and people move in and live their lives and pay their rents, and then the loans get paid. It's very simple. Those rental mortgages on these big multifamily projects get paid. Everybody calm the fuck down. Okay, everything will be fine. That's nothing to worry about. Let's talk about the spend. So that was actually the biggest thing. The biggest thing in the last year has been the push from the federal government to provide resources to build rental properties, which we need in Canada. We just absolutely need.
It's a huge housing crisis.
And this is really the only quick, effective tool the government has. Okay. Now, we've also seen a million other announcements. Well, not a million, but seemed like a million because they were announcing them every fucking second day. We got Trudeau in the fucking hard hat, and we got Freeland in the orange vest, and we got there's so many ministers with so many costumes you can't imagine. But
so many Muppets we could make out of that.
Oh my God, could we ever make some Muppets? You know, the Muppets will be coming back. Like in June, we got to have the Tiff Macklin Muppet is back.
Tiffy will make his return.
Tiffy will make his return for the June announcement. We're going to have a lot of Tiffy action leading up to that June Bank of Canada announcement. It's going to be, if he doesn't hate us now, he will sure as fuck hate us then. So anyway, that's coming. But let's go back to all the different programs. So if we break down, the loan programs will work. They will build some rental units, which are needed, which is great. There is $1 billion has been set aside for the homeless, and the homeless definitely need help.
Of course.
That said, you could make a big case that in every, well, let's take the most homeless place in North America.
Vancouver or LA?
State of California.
Skid Row.
Both LA, San Francisco, even San Diego. There's like 48% of all the homeless people in the United States of America are in California. Yeah. It is literally the kingdom of homeless.
Yeah. Well, I get it. It's good weather year round. You can survive outside.
Yeah, like if you were homeless in Vermont, you'd try to find a way to get to fucking California, right? I mean, like, yeah. It's just, so you would not want to, you'd say, or if you're up in Montana, freezing your balls homeless, yeah, I think I would need to get to LA. I mean, if I'm going to be homeless, I might as well not freeze, okay?
Yeah.
And there was a massive study done. It was about 2 years ago. University of California at Berkeley did one of the biggest studies in the history of studies. They interviewed 30,000 homeless people. That's an incredibly big study, right? Yeah. And what they came away learning is that almost incredibly, like even though, a few people came from Montana to not freeze their balls in a tent, but the majority of people were Californians. A lot of them were Californians, or some of them were from other nearby states who just got priced out of their homes or just had,
down on their luck type of thing.
Well, like an employment disaster, like typically an employment disaster, which drove them out of a home they owned or drove them out of a stable rental.
Wow.
And what the lesson was, what shocked me is there's a lot of people, and even myself, thought, well, all of this is just a function of drug addiction, okay, or alcoholism, or whatever the case may be. But the study learned that no.
It's not always the case. No.
It's actually maybe not the case half the time, because what they figured out was the unemployment event, which caused first of all, people started couch surfing, then they slept in their car, and then they lost a car, and then finally they're completely homeless. But they started out in their own home, their own owned home, or they started out in a rental, and then they started on the drugs then when they were in the car or when they were in the tent. Okay.
They were, like anybody who's in that position in their life, like your shit just got flipped upside down. They're going to look for a way to cope, and what's on the street next to you, right?
Exactly. But it's not what most people think it is.
It's not the cause brought them there.
It's not the cause.
It's just the collateral of
It's the result of them being there.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's really important for us to understand that. So yes, it's good for the government to try to help the homeless, help the unhoused. But I think the really important element of this is super expensive, batshit crazy prices, super high rents also causes homelessness.
1,000%.
Okay, so it's so if we want to really help the homeless, we'd get housing more affordable.
Yeah, okay? You start from the root, prevent it.
100%. Prevention is far. Like I said, I was surprised by this study, but once you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. All right, so what are some of the other programs? Some of the other programs, a lot of money is being sent to municipalities. Once again, that's the Housing Accelerator Fund, which is like $5 billion. There's going to be more loans made to cities on top of the Housing Accelerator Fund to create more subsidized housing. Okay. subsidized housing is always rental. You know, it's less expensive rental, and it's very steady because as long as you don't have to worry about being evicted. No, it's not like a condo, renting a condo. You're not just waiting for the landlord to say you got to go. You know, subsidized rents in city-owned properties or city-sponsored properties or charitably driven properties, you don't get thrown out. Okay, you can stay there as long as you want. So there's a benefit. But the other parts of the Housing Accelerator Fund and a lot of the other money, because there's also $1 billion earmarked to give municipalities, if they supported greater density, but to give municipalities money to build infrastructure. Not roads, because the government's against roads, but yeah, I know. Hello, Stephen Gilbo. Anyway, so things like water treatment plants, things like community services, and just stuff that's needed before you can build. You have to have a certain amount of capacity of some services, whether it's water treatment, water supply, you name it. But things in the neighborhood have to be in place before you can actually build the houses. So this is to help municipalities do that, which is a good thing. Okay, it's a problem if your municipality is greatly growing, and you reach a point where you have no more access to water treatment. People got to poop, right? I mean, you gotta have water treatment, and if you reach the point where we can't grow this water sanitation facility anymore, then we can't build any more houses. Okay, and so there's some smart spending there that really needs to happen. That is real infrastructure, by the way. I hate fake infrastructure where you say you're going to build a crosstown LRT and you never finish it.
What, the tracks were off, like how many centimeters, and all the excuses in the book, man.
All the excuses in the book.
I drive by that like daily, and I'm just like, it's a fully functional thing. It's
particularly
upsetting, but whatever.
I guess that's particularly upsetting when you see people still working at it, right?
I don't see people.
Nobody's working at it. No. It's not starts. Never finishes. Okay, I got you.
No. At one point, I would see them testing the train, so I was like, oh, okay, we're almost there. This is 2 years later.
Yeah, it's funny. We have these infrastructure disasters all across Canada. We have Ottawa, who decided they wanted an LRT in Ottawa, but they decided to go with a brand new experimental concept of how to do these trains. And that didn't work out worth a shit. Okay.
Big science project.
Big science project.
It's a tax dollars science project.
Well put. Then we had I think it was Edmonton or Calgary, I can't remember which. They decided to get electric buses. Not like buses that run on batteries. And of course, that didn't work worth a fuck. Okay, so it looks like they're having to throw away all the buses they bought.
Well, I mean, it's cold as fuck, so I can imagine those batteries are not.
Oh, it's so cold. I don't know. A battery was it, but again, they were buying new technology, and that didn't work out with the shit. So,
a little bit of research could have gone a long way on that one.
I mean, it's comical, right? Except it's our money. It's taxpayers' money.
What can we do but laugh at this point?
Or else you just cry.
Yeah.
So we have, and some of the things that the government wants to do are good. The government has proposed that they would, as we talked about on another show, they would try to bring an end to mortgage document fraud. All good. We want that. Okay. They brought out an encouraging program about saving for down payment, right? Like a registered savings plan for down payment. Another one, you could always take money out of your RSPs. But they introduced a new one, which is and this is genuinely beneficial. Okay. I'll tell you why. Oh, then the government increased the RSP limit that you could take out of your program and extended the time you'd had to pay it back. But here's the thing. How does that help people who don't make a ton of money? Because, if you say, well, you can take out $60,000 each now, and then you can take out all this money from your down payment program. Well, it begs the question, how did you save all this fucking money in this very expensive world we live in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you save it? How does that really help?
Yeah.
Because when we circle back on all of these programs, okay, and some of them are genuinely good, homeless, good, infrastructure, good. Registered savings for down payment, good. Tax-free savings, great for down payment, all good. Nothing wrong with any of it. Okay, building the rental apartments, yes, good. I mean, we need them.
Right.
Really and truly. Oh, and density. They want to push all municipalities in Canada to allow for greater density. So you have a single family lot as a right, you can now build 4 units on it, or 6 or 5, depends on the municipality. Okay. Also good. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Okay. Because let's face it, in a city like Toronto, like right in 416, or in Montreal, although Montreal is pretty dense, to be honest with you. Like they have decent density in Montreal.
Yeah, they do.
But in Vancouver, sure, it's the most expensive place to live. Well, eventually Toronto will somehow beat Vancouver.
We're at like the second.
Yeah,
like we're right under there.
And we're chasing hard, right? We're chasing for number 1 in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
As if something to be proud of.
No, not at all. But yes, we are in the race. Okay. So that is something that is theoretically good, but sometimes hard to put in place.
Yeah.
You know, like I do talk to people who are trying to do those kinds of builds.
Yeah.
And it ain't easy. Like, even though in theory it's approved, you still have to get permits.
Right.
You know, and some people say, well, we've got it licked. We have a permit. You've got a planning situation here where we know exactly what the city wants, and we know exactly how to present it, and we know. Okay, fine. Let's see if the neighbors object. You know, because if the neighbors start objecting, you might get slowed down.
Just more red tape.
Yeah, lots of red tape. And, you know, so positive, but slow. It's funny. One of our staff came to me just the other day and said, Ron, what about this? Look at this. This guy's got a laneway house. What's that all about? Okay. Now, is that legal? Is that legal to have another house on the same lot as the main house? The answer is yes. But here's the curious part. That's what we're thinking about. This laneway house has been available to do in Toronto, if you get a permit for it, for nearly maybe 8 years, at least 7. Okay. And it's so not happening that it's taken 7 years for us to run into our first one. You know, there's the first one. They say, oh, so is you renting the basement? No, we have a laneway home. Okay. Okay. How's that work? Okay. Because in a very, very busy mortgage environment that we have at Butler Mortgage, it's the first one we've seen.
No way.
Yeah.
My neighbors tried building a laneway house.
What happened?
And then the neighbors snitched and yeah, and it's just sitting there. I guess it's storage now. I don't know. Like you can tell that they never finished the build.
Oh, God.
And nobody lives in it because there's not even windows in it. So
Jesus.
Yeah, they just had to put everything on pause, and now it's just an extra garage or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So it just a couple of good examples, folks, of just to prove that you can wish a laneway home into existence, but to actually get people in it. So I'm serious. Like, if a really busy company like ours has just run into our first one, and I know the numbers. The numbers aren't big. They haven't built a ton of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's been available all this time. There's a lot of reasons why, but mostly it's neighbors snitched.
Your neighbor says no.
Neighbor doesn't want
all that NIMBYism coming back.
All that NIMBY, and they don't want a shadow on their pool or some damn thing, you know, some crazy shit. Okay, so to sum up, many programs. You know, there's probably been more housing programs announced in both federally and in Ontario and municipally in the last year than I've seen in my life, and I'm old. Okay, I'm really old. All right. And the final one to mention, the 30-year amortization for first-time home buyers and only new construction. Okay. So that's a little limited.
Yeah.
It's a way bit limited. But look, these are all new things, and if we just say they're all okay, we got to give them a few months to get going, but maybe a year, maybe something. But like, what is the optimistic outcome right now that we can tell you about these programs? What do you think?
It just sounds like a Band-Aid situation to me. Like they're just putting a Band-Aid and not actually dealing with the root of the problem.
Because you're absolutely correct. Because the root of the problem is batshit crazy house prices.
Yeah.
And to sum up the real sincerely awful part of this housing problem is that I can tell you in Ontario, Southern Ontario, GTA, Hamilton, probably, I would say KW, Kitchener-Waterloo as well. Mm-hmm. Probably Cambridge and Guelph. They're not building anything.
Nowhere.
Like, no houses, no low rise.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I heard people talk about building low rise, and what I mean by low rise is single family detached townhouses. Most low rise is townhouses projects today, and semis, whatever. But low rise homes, like they're getting built nowhere except maybe Windsor or Peterborough.
Places that aren't even as dense as the GTA is alone.
Not even close. Okay. And far away, right? From the GTA. Hell, they're not even building new low rise in Niagara. Okay. That's not happening. It's stopped. It's stopped because of high interest rates. It's stopped because of builders worried about, not confident in buyers' demand, not confident that they'll sell.
All the red tape with all the permits you need.
And all the studies. But, the builder just, and development fees, like jillions of dollars in development fees. So the builder just says, no,
not worth the headache.
I'm not going to do it. And I might not even be able to get financing because the big lenders also think it might be not a good proposition. So the outcome of all these incredible variety and numbers of programs the governments have brought out in the last year on the ground in Ontario is there's going to be fewer low-rise homes built in Ontario. And I'm kind of suspicious. BC's doing good, but I'm not so sure they're doing good on I think they're doing good on rentals. I don't think they're doing very good on houses to buy. But in Ontario, for sure, this will be one of the most disastrous new low-rise homes to buy years in decades. Crazy. It's going to be a complete disaster.
Crazy.
So that's bad. Now, how about high-rise? How about building new high-rise in Ontario? New condos. Well, the ones that are halfway up are getting finished. The ones that started construction will probably finish. Probably almost all.
Yeah.
There are no new condos getting built in the GTA. Maybe some in Milton. Okay. Like again, right on the real edges. You go all the way out to Oshawa, Pickering. There's a few starts there. But in 416, other than a couple boutique condo buildings. Now, what I mean by boutique is it's meant for the super rich. Like we're building a 12, 18-story, 22-story unit in a very exclusive neighborhood.
In Yorkville and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. In the primest of prime neighborhoods. And they're going to be like huge, and they're going to be ridiculously expensive. And, they're only for people who want to leave their house. They leave their already super expensive houses, sell their super expensive houses, and move to a super expensive condo. Those are getting built. Okay. But the average project, the 200-suiter, the 200 units, 150 units, stopped. Like the big article, big post the other day. Hey, 60 condo towers approved. Stopped. Just stopped. We're not even trying to sell them anymore. We gave up.
Wow.
We just give up. Okay. Yeah, and the same thing has happened in Vancouver too. In Vancouver, there's a few condo developments that were approved and opened for sales, and there were no fucking sales. Okay. So they're stopped. So to recap, the outcome of these multiple programs, all these different government announcements, which I'm not even fighting most of them. Like I could quibble on a lot of them and say that it's not enough, or it's only halfway, or it's not the right announcement, or or how long is it going to take you to get started on this fucking announcement? I mean, that's the real issue. How urgent are you? But today in May of 2024 in Ontario, at least, just because I know Ontario the best. We're kind of fucked.
Yeah, okay. I feel like they don't matter to me because regardless of how much like help that they're gonna give us, who can afford a home at my age in Toronto by themselves, or even with a partner without a cosigner?
There you go. Because and guess what?
So it's like, who cares?
That disaster that we've been talking about, that all governments have been talking about, the disaster of not enough supply, not enough supply of new homes, is getting much worse. Okay, as we speak, right, right this minute, it's getting much worse. So to your point, it just seems like bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you want to buy a home, you want to buy a home, right? You don't want to rent a home.
No.
Okay?
I want to be able to live rent-free in my own home when I retire.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's just not, it doesn't just seem like an option for me in this city or even in this country, unless I go to like Edmonton or something.
Yeah, which is
cold.
We love you, Edmonton. We truly do love you. I lived in Edmonton for 4 years. My wife, Mrs. Mortgage Guy, was born in Edmonton, raised there. I met her there. It's a great town, great people. It is cold as balls in the winter. Okay, it really is. It's just cold as balls.
Yeah.
But look, it's a great town. But
like, at this point, I'd rather move to the States. And I am not somebody who would want to move to the States.
Fair.
So that's how you know it's bad.
That's how you know it's bad. You're absolutely correct. That is exactly how you know it's bad. Because the most crucial thing to give real hope, like serious hope to bring prices down, is building new homes. Yeah. By the way, the Conservative Party ran an ad. They ran an ad where they cut out an announcement from 2015, like a Liberal Party campaign promise before they got elected, that they were going to solve the housing crisis.
That's a joke.
And they were going to build 3 million new homes. That's 2015. And by the way, they just then they set that ad beside the ad about we're going to solve the housing crisis in 2024. We're going to do it. we're not kidding this time, though. Yeah. Look, I'm not going to blame. There's been a lot of shit happening in between, COVID, you name it. But like, I think we've got to really, really, really focus on the fact that in Ontario, we're going to build less homes in 2024 than we've built for maybe a decade. And that does not compute with we're going to have lower priced homes because we're going to build more. That just does not work together. Okay.
Math ain't mathin'.
Math is not fucking mathin' at all. All right, so rates this week. Rates fixed rates just keep edging up. Okay, that's reality. They are impacted severely by what's going on in the U.S. So we've talked about this before, but just to repeat, the U.S. economy is still strong, creating jobs, creating gross domestic product. It's coming off a bit, slowing down a bit, but their inflation is pretty hot. Okay, still much harder than ours. Okay, and they incur a lot of debt. Like they print a lot of debt. Okay, every single week, every single day, and they have to auction off a ton of treasuries every week. That's their version of a bond. Okay, they call it a treasury, and that puts pressure on fixed. That's where you get mortgage rates. You get mortgage rates from bond yields.
Yeah,
bond yields get impacted by all this data that comes out of the States. Now you might say, well, wait a second, Ron. That's the U.S. We are not the U.S. We are Canada, goddammit. So why is this happening to us? Because yes, we have lower inflation. Absolutely. Yes, our job situation is getting a little worse. I mean,
a lot worse.
A lot worse. Like I mostly know old retired people or people at the end of their careers. You know young people. What's the story on the jobs?
I know people who have been looking for a job for over a year.
Jesus.
In Ontario, in Quebec, in Montreal, it's in these dense cities, and people over a year unemployed. Like that's ridiculous.
It's hard for young people, right?
It is. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And it's like, when you're in the employment pool, and you're next to somebody who went to university and has all of this, that, and those, you're going for the same job.
Yep.
You're both, obviously they're going to take somebody who has a little bit more experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the education is going to, get you the job. But it's like, the point is we're in the same boat, which is sad because if you went to university for 4 or 5 years.
You got student loans.
And then now you're in the same pool as somebody who maybe not even went to university, waiting for that same job to line up. It's waiting for that same wage. Like it's sad. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, our producer Jessica was talking about her cousin who's again out of work for a year. Look, there is obviously some employment opportunities, but unemployment's rising. It rose last month. It'll probably rise again this month. It'll certainly rise on the quarter. We know a lot of the banks and all kinds of financial companies, they're in a hiring freeze. So that means just the people who get old and retire or quit or whatever, they don't get replaced. So, hey, I got a call on a referral from a company of somebody who left Butler. I think it's 2.5, 3 years ago now. Left our company. And I got a call for a job reference. I said, yeah, that's fine. What do you got in mind? What is it she's going to do? And it was, well, she's going to do this and this. I said, wait a second. That does not pay only about this much? And the person calling me said, yeah, it only pays that much. Oh, it's not bad. It's not the end of the world. I think it was like about $50,000 or a little bit less. Okay. Which is a lot less than we were paying 2.5 years ago when they left. Okay. Which tells me something. It tells me that in real estate and lending world, things aren't going so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely not going good. Yeah. All right. So, and we know this because there's housing sales are way, way down, which, so yeah, higher rates on the fixed side, higher rates, same rates on variable. And some people are going to say, whoa, God damn it, Ron, you said rates would come down.
You liar.
Are you a liar? You fat fucking liar. All right. So I said we might get a cut in July. I told you there wouldn't be. We actually ran a whole skit with a fucking TIFF Muppet that said there would be no cut. Okay. Yeah. I announced it a day before that there would be no cut. So I'm never said to anybody there would be a cut. July is my earliest possible cut in my mind. But there will be cuts before the end of the year because just like the conversation we just had, the economy ain't going so good.
It's plummeting.
Maybe. Yeah. I got a feeling one day we're going to wake up and see a really shitty jobs report. Like I think we really will. Okay.
Well, hopefully there'll be cuts by then.
Well, there will be. There has to be. I mean, there's a lot of reasons behind it, but yeah, there will eventually be cuts. So that takes us to viewer mail. We're gonna get answer those questions.
Got a couple today. This one says, my mom heard about the capital gains tax increase on cottages. She's getting older and is worried about passing it on to us kids. What to do?
All right. So that's I'm the farthest thing from an accountant. I'm the farthest thing from a tax accountant. But here's the general idea behind that. So if you bought a cottage a long, long time ago, you bought a cottage 30 years ago when you were in, because people did that. People could buy a cottage in their 30s, because the houses, they bought a house for like 89,000. They bought a house for 89,000. They bought a cottage for 49,000. I mean, like it was possible to do.
What a time.
What a time. Exactly. What a time. So they probably thought it was expensive then, but they were wrong. God damn it, they were wrong. It was not expensive at all compared to today. So you've bought a cottage for like cheap 30 years ago, and you've gradually improved it. You've gradually done some things to it. You've probably gradually expanded it, and whatever, added a dock and done a bunch of stuff. And then you turn around, and today the cottage is worth $1 million. Okay.
Ooh.
And that's not a primary residence because you still have your primary residence back in the city. Okay. The capital gains implication on that is substantial, quite substantial. And yes, this new change, increase in capital gains, people want to, the government wants to parse how we refer to it, but let's just say more tax. I'm going to just cut to the chase on that. There's just more tax. So the bottom line is, yes, it will have an impact, but you don't have to sell it today. Don't panic today unless there's a really big reason you have to do a transaction today.
Yeah.
Because governments change, policies change, and 3 years from now, the tax might be back where it was. And the other consideration is in these, when you have to talk about passing something on to a family, don't ask Ron, don't ask mortgage brokers, don't ask people in your bank branch who we have no real clue. Talk to a legitimate tax planner, talk to a tax accountant, or talk to a tax lawyer who actually can tell you, yeah, I know exactly what to do. I've done hundreds of those. I know what to do.
Advise you best, yeah.
That's who to talk to. Okay, like, but on the face of it, in some circumstances, is there going to be more tax paid after the end of June? The answer is yes. Yeah. But the policy doesn't stay the same forever. And if you can wait. That might be the most intelligent thing to say. What else?
This one says, I want to shop for a better rate at renewal next month. I called our broker and she said I don't qualify to switch. What's with that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm missing a lot of information on that, but could it happen? I think the answer is yes, it could happen. So let's imagine you bought 5 years ago, you bought your house, and now it's 5 years, renewal's coming up. But one of you stopped working, or one of you is just out of work at the moment. And with this new rate, if you want to switch, you have to go through the stress test. And even though you went through the stress test back then, the stress test was only maximum 5 years ago. The stress test was probably only 495, 525, and now it's 725 in your case. So yeah, there are situations where if you've had any sort of slowdown in income, or even just had absolutely stagnant income, that by upping the interest rate, it could just push you over the edge of being qualified for a mortgage. Now, your own bank will always be able to offer you a mortgage. That's the way it works in Canada. Nobody reviews your employment in Canada on a renewal. Your own bank does not. But if you want to switch to someplace else, it does. They do have to, okay?
Yeah.
So the answer is a qualified yes. I would ask you reach out to others, particularly reach out maybe directly to other banks. But yeah, don't give up. Don't give up. Get a second opinion. Find out if you do qualify. But realistically, yeah, for a few cases, it's the minority. We analyze it as being probably only about 20 to 25% of cases. For the minority of people, they may be in a position where they cannot switch. They have to stay with their existing lender, which is another shout out to Peter Rutledge at OSFI. Your idea that everybody has to be stress tested at renewal if they don't want 1 penny more in their mortgage, they just want to get a better deal. Your idea that all those people still need to be stress tested is fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid, Peter. Fucking dumb and wrong. And even the Competition Tribunal told you, the Competition Bureau told you, yeah, it's fucking stupid. Like the people in the government actually agree with Ron. Okay, fucking stupid, but can't be fixed today. We can't fix it today. So, we talked earlier about house prices are too high in Canada, obviously. And will house prices come down becomes a question. We talked about the fact there's not enough supply, so it's going to be pretty tough, particularly in some categories of homes, like low-rise homes, like houses, townhouses, semis, you name it. They're not building anymore, so the chances of those plummeting in price is pretty fucking ridiculous. But let's talk about some particular categories where prices actually may be going down.
Dog crates?
The dog crate condos. Now, a lot of people are pissed off when I say dog crate condos, which is the condo that's below 500 square feet.
Those are the people living in those dog crates.
Or those are the landlords operating those dog crates. They think, don't call it a dog crate. I want my tenant to love it. Or then, sometimes crazy people reach out and say, no, I find it very convenient. I prefer to be able to touch my walls when I'm in bed. So
I love being able to do that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I really feel more comfortable in a cell-like room. I feel much better. Okay?
But as an individual, as a one person. But how about a couple, or how about somebody who wants to live with their friend or roommate, or because they can't afford?
Because they can't afford.
They can't afford
exactly
their dog crate, so they have to share it with somebody. And these places are tiny. Have you ever been in a under 600 square feet apartment.
I don't think I have, actually.
No. My friend used to live, I think it was like 525. And
525 square feet?
Yeah. And it was small.
Right?
Small. Like she lived there on her own, so it's doable just for her. But like you couldn't have more than like 5 people over, because then it's like everyone's in line for the washroom, and it's
or some people are sitting in the bedroom eating.
Yeah. Like her bedroom was like those glass window door things.
Really? Yeah.
So it was like pretty cool, but yeah, like we're sitting on the floor half the time because it's like a cute futon in the middle, and that was basically all that could fit because her kitchen is right behind the futon, and it's like, yeah, it was small, just so small, man.
People do get mad when I call them dog crates in the sky, but my old name for them was shit boxes in the sky. So, I mean, people said, you can't say that, Ron. That's just mean. So I quit saying.
In when these condos started coming out, my parents used to call them cajita de fósforos, which is match boxes. So don't worry, we're all the same boat.
Sometimes people years ago called them shoebox condos. Okay?
There you go. The concept is there. It just accept it. It's a tiny condo.
It's a tiny condo. So today, there's some pressure on those tiny condos that's producing sales and buildup of inventory. What's the pressure? The renewals keep coming in. There's 500 renewals every day in Canada. If you get a renewal on your condo mortgage, the payment goes up. Excuse me, the payment goes up, and the condo fees never go down. Right?
They always go up.
They just go up. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes there's a special assessment. So condo fees go up. Mortgage payment goes up. Do rents go up? Well, they went up last year, but apparently they're not going up that much this year. They're still very high. But the rents, the rents don't cover the nut. They don't cover the condo fees, the property tax.
Yeah.
Now, in the past, people were sort of okay with that because the dream was, well, the condo will go up so much in price. If I just wait a couple of years, I can sell it and pocket a fortune. I'll pocket $100,000, even pay the capital gains. I don't care. I'll pocket like $100,000, $150,000 after 2 or 3 years because I bought it new construction and I waited my 5 years and it was finished. I got the tenant in there. Now I'm gonna make a fortune. Okay. Now it's looking like it's not going to be a fortune.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's 50,000 new ones coming in the next 2 years. So will there be a supply issue? I know, Ron, you just said, wait a second, Ron, you just said they stopped building them. Yeah, but there's been tons being built and they're not stopping finishing them. So there will be more of them come on stream. And there will also be maybe less renters. No, but right, Ron, you said there's tons of people coming to Canada. Yeah, but the international students don't rent condos for $2,300, okay? International students, they sleep on a futon in a basement, okay, in Scarborough or someplace else, and they pay $800 a month. Like, that isn't what it is. Like, there's no such thing as a 485 square foot condo with 5 students in it. I mean, they couldn't even do it. I mean, they'd have to sleep standing up. Okay. So yeah, it's a different thing. Okay. And we are clearly watching a huge ramp up of sales inventory in that dog crate condo category. And we are seeing some prices go down in that one particular area.
Yeah. Well, I think for single people could definitely work. For somebody who just wants an investment property or just to own something, sure. Even if I can afford it, will I buy one? Absolutely not.
So that's what's happening. If you're an investor who bought them as an investment, you want to sell them now, but you don't like being a landlord, or you don't like or the math ain't mathin', and you're losing money every month. And you sell them. You got to probably sell them to somebody who is also an investor, and the math may not math for them because the interest rates are, today's interest rates don't work for that. So we may see some price reductions in those condominiums finally.
Out of like desperation to get rid of them.
More basically. Or less, yeah. Like, because some people will just say, yeah, fuck, I got 4 of these.
Yeah.
I can't keep doing this, losing money on all of them. Take one. I got to sell one and put me in a position where I can keep the payments going on the other 3. So we kind of theorized about this a while back, and now it looks like it's actually happening today. So we got to watch that area. And the other area is cottages. We talked about the question from the viewer, from the listener, talked about, hey, what's going on with mom? But in that case, they may not have to sell. But there's some people who moved in COVID, like they moved into cottage country, and they now find that their company wants them back, or they find that, okay, I don't work for that company anymore. And guess what? There actually are no fucking jobs in cottage country for me. You know, there's lots of jobs for gardeners and marine motor repair people, but there's no fucking job for me. Okay. So I got to go back to the city. So I got to sell. And then simultaneously, we've got a bunch of people who bought cottages because, you know, in 2022, the fucking Vrbo and Airbnb for cottages was through the fucking roof. Yeah. Okay. And the people were running to the cottage and, let's go. I'll pay big money.
Yeah.
Fill it. It's quieted down. And again, the mortgage rates go up and the fucking rents go down. The weekly rent goes down, and it may be time to sell, because we've definitely seen in not the top 3 lakes, for those are just super rich people and nobody ever sells, but we have heard about both, you know, in the Okanagan, in British Columbia, a little bit of prices coming off. Definitely in cottage country in Ontario, we've heard about some pricing coming off. And if this is a lousy rental cottage summer, we could see some real difficulty there. That could happen.
I would assume so, because my friends and I do a cottage once or twice a year, every year. And it's like 13 of us, so we can afford a multi, like, you know, a couple $1,000 cottage, but like a 4-family or even like a 6-person cottage, it's still in Muskoka. You're looking at like $1,200 a night.
Jesus.
Who's doing that? Especially when there's probably only 2 adults and like 4 kids.
Yeah, that may not work.
No. Even in like, if it's not lakefront, even anywhere in Ontario, I've been looking at Airbnbs, like these cottages. They're expensive, like ridiculously expensive, more expensive than last year, I find.
So that might just encourage you to do for less time, or
just not at all.
Or not at all.
Like for the same amount of money, I could just go on a trip or something.
That could be a major impact for sure. If there's more people like you, that's a big impact. I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing cottage pricing fall.
Well, you got to be like financially conscious, right? Like the economy's shit right now. Nobody's doing these like little joy rides to cottage country if they don't have to, if they can't.
That's by the way, you just encapsulated the problem. It's these little changes in spending habits just grind an economy down.
Yeah.
You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. Which takes us to the favorite part of the program.
What the actual fuck?
Hey, this one is, I alluded to it actually earlier in the show. They're building this fucking strip city in Saudi Arabia, right? They're building it, and they're building it so fast. Like, it's maybe the most ambitious project in the world right now. It's just absolutely massive. It's a city built as a strip. Billions and billions, maybe $1 trillion, put into it. For sure, maybe trillions. These Saudis got some money, guys. Come on, they got some money. Now, they're going to build this thing on schedule, on budget, because the budget's kind of infinite if you're Saudi Arabia, right? It's a kingdom. The king owns the fucking thing, right? So he's got a lot of money. Kings and princes have a lot of money there. But what's interesting is the speed they can accomplish. And we've all seen, like, Dubai and the Emirates and all that stuff, and they can build stuff there that we just don't build in the West anymore. We don't build in North America anymore. We don't build anything that ambitious. Now, I want to caution, before I launch on why we can't build fuck all in North America now, got to be cautious, because we got to remember the labor that these countries use in the Middle East is a version of serfdom. Okay, like it's these are people typically from Pakistan and India and some from the Philippines, who they're working very, very cheaply. I mean, super cheap wages. They work them hard because it's a kingdom. Like the king decides how much you work. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you want to cause a grievance? You want there's no union, so your grievance is we kick you the fuck out of Saudi Arabia. Go back wherever the fuck you were from. Okay?
Basically.
So it's a kingdom, folks. All right. So you got to set that. That's a meaningful part of it. A meaningful part of it is super duper cheap labor. Okay, that allows them to do this. Oh, and also super cheap capital. Because basically in Saudi Arabia, you can take a big pipe out into the desert, and 2 guys with hammers can stick it in the ground, and shortly thereafter, oil comes out of it. Okay, like it's really easy to harvest energy in Saudi Arabia. Like it's super cheap. So they are rich as fuck. But what I got to say is this. one of the things that they don't have that we do have, I want to set the labor cost aside. I am not suggesting we should have cheap labor in Canada. That's not my suggestion. I'm not talking about that at all. That's not it. I don't want that to happen.
We believe in fair wages.
We believe in that. And I like seriously fucking believe in it. Okay. So, but there's no fucking studies.
No red tape.
There's no red tape.
No, just
there's no environmental study.
Let's go.
There's no water table study. If we run into water, we'll put up a wall. There's no fucking archaeological study. Oh, I think there might be an ancient temple over there. Throw it down. I bulldoze through it. We don't give a fuck. Okay, like we want to. Our job here is to build. Okay, yeah. We're here to build. We're not here to look at temples and fucking spear tips and all this other bullshit. Yeah. Okay,
we're not finding fossils. We're building.
And wait a second. I think there might be a little concern over here that there might be a change order. And no, there's no fucking change order. Just build it the way I fucking want to build it. Well, maybe we should consult with the planner. There's no fucking planner either. I'm the king. Okay, I'm the king. There's some princess. We're gonna build this fucker. Like, hear me out. Just build. Okay, which we don't have here. We don't have just build here. No. Nothing is easy.
No.
Everything is so fucking complicated. Everything is so difficult. Everything is so fucking hard. Yes, pay decent wages. But I talk to people in construction, they say, well, we could do that, but it would take 6 years to get the start of the approval. Like just to get to the point where we might get a permit would take 4 to 6 years. Now I know like people like to argue with me online. When I put that out there, there's always somebody who says, well, no, I built a garage in Milton and it only took me 6 months. Yeah, it's a fucking garage in Milton. I'm not talking about a garage in Milton, okay? Yeah. I'm talking about major fucking developments, okay? Yeah. Done quickly, on time, efficiently, and finished and usable, okay? Yeah. I'm happy to pay the labor cost. But enough of this bullshit. And I don't want to become a kingdom. Fuck that. I don't like that shit. Okay? I hate it. Okay?
That wasn't the point.
That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is it can be done.
It can be.
It can be done. And if we could just make this big commitment to, hey, all you guys in the planning department? Yes, we're all here. We're listening to you. Yes, we're going to teach you how to use a fucking nail gun. We're going to teach you how to work a fucking backhoe. Enough of your planning. Get out of your fucking desks. We're going to take you down and we're going to put you to work. Okay, same wages. You're going to be fine. Oh, I prefer to work from home. Fuck you. You're coming down to the site and we're going to do some fucking work. Look, too many planners, too many inspectors, too many studies, too many fucking rules. I'm fine with the safety rules. Let's keep the safety rules going, okay? But too many. Oh, we found an arrowhead. Stop everything. We're going to stop everything and we're going to think for a few months about whether there's more arrowheads here. Fuck that. We've got enough arrowheads. We got enough fucking. We don't need to study. Oh well, this looks like this might have been a rusted out musket from the 1800s. Throw it the fuck away. Throw it away. We don't fucking care. Build. We just want to fucking build, baby. That's it. We got to change our attitude. I don't want to be Saudi Arabia. I absolutely don't. But there is a lesson. Okay. All right, folks. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.